So, in this clip, we are going to see Katie Pavlich have an interesting debate with one of the organizers of the No Kings protest. And we're going to see him have to educate her on the Constitution and people exercising their constitutional right, as well as seeing her become visibly flustered and just not knowing how to respond to some of the answers that it is that he gives. As usual, let's watch the clip in full. I'm going to hold my commentary, my perspective, my thoughts towards the end, and then we'll go from there. Let's get into it.
Joining us now is Ezra Levin, co-executive director of Indivisible and one of the organizers behind the No Kings protest. Ezra, great to see you. Thanks for coming on tonight. I appreciate it.
Great to be talking, Katie.
Thank you. So first of all, let's start off with the name of these protests, No Kings. Here in America, we don't have kings. We have presidents elected by the people. So what's up with that title?
Yeah, look, I agree. We should just have presidents. And you can disagree with presidents. I disagree with plenty of presidents of both parties. But what we don't accept in America are rulers who try to trample on our constitutional rights. I think one of the beautiful things about tomorrow is this is Americans standing up in blue states, in red states, in purple states, in rural areas, in urban areas, in just about every nook and cranny of this country. 95% of Americans are within about an hour of their local No Kings protests. And what they're doing, Katie, is exercising their First Amendment rights. What a thing to celebrate in this country, that we have First Amendment rights that we can actually exercise.
Yeah, the First Amendment's great. And in a country without a king, we actually have the First Amendment and can go exercise our rights appropriately. If it's not about having actual king, as we can agree on, but about policies implemented by our president, where were the No Kings protests, for example, when the COVID-19 vaccine mandate was issued by the Biden administration, one that forced Americans to take the vaccine under duress or to lose their jobs? Many people were fired until the Supreme Court struck it down. Didn't see you guys out there during that administration.
So what we're responding to right now more than anything else is two things. One, it is a secret police force that is terrorizing American communities, and in some cases killing Americans, as they did in the Twin Cities. We had ICE murder Renee Good, and we had Border Patrol murder Alex Preddy in the streets while they were exercising their First Amendment rights. That's one thing that we're seeing these millions and millions of people responding to. And the second thing that's driving a lot of turnout right now is this unpopular, illegal, unconstitutional war with Iran that Trump picked, even though members of his own party didn't want it. Certainly independents and Democrats don't want it. And everybody wants it to end because it's driving up our prices and costing Americans just billions of dollars. That's something that somebody other than a president does. That's something that an authoritarian tries to do. Go over the Constitution to pick fights with foreign countries that his own constituents don't want.
Well, to be fair, I mean, Iran has been picking a fight with the United States for 47 years. They've killed thousands of Americans. They fund Hezbollah, which of course was it's the largest terrorist organization in the world, killed more Americans before 9/11 than any other terrorist organization in the entire globe. You had October 7th, where dozens of Americans were murdered by Hamas, which is funded by Iran. Missiles shot at bases all over the Middle East, trying to kill American soldiers. So that's why the president is taking this on. Also, they're trying to get a nuclear weapon, and of course hold the entire Middle East hostage. But I want to ask you this about what you said about the so-called secret police. I assume you're talking about immigration customs enforcement. Your group is all about making sure that you can take on ICE. You have ICE out rallies as well. I understand the issues with Alex Preddy and Renee Good. There are ongoing investigations with what happened there. But generally speaking, when it comes to immigration and customs enforcement, we've talked to the father of a young woman named Katie last night, whose daughter was killed by an illegal alien inside the country. Sheridan Gorman is a Loyola University student who was murdered by a Venezuelan illegal alien in the country who had been arrested before, let out by Chicago. The list goes on and on. Stephanie Minter in Virginia, again, murdered at a bus stop by an illegal alien. So do you think we shouldn't have any immigration and customs enforcement inside the country to make sure that violent illegal criminals are not murdering Americans in the streets?
Can I respond to both points that you raised? You raised a whole bunch of interesting points about Iran. I think this is exactly why Congress has the power to declare war. I would love a debate about whether there should be military action in Iran. Again, it is Congress's job, not the president's, Congress's job to declare war. Trump himself is calling this a war. He is acting unconstitutionally in waging this war. This is, again, a war that the vast majority of Americans did not want, that the majority of Americans do not want to continue paying for. We want this president to focus on making our lives better, not picking fights that we don't want. And if there is going to be a war, it's Congress's job to do that, Katie. That's in the Constitution.
The Congress
so
hasn't declared a war since the 1940s. And I assume you had the same complaints when Barack Obama was also droning Americans overseas, and he was declaring war on places like Libya, which was a war that dragged out a lot longer than what's happening in Iran. And I would say also that the president is improving the lives of Americans by making sure that we are not held hostage by a nuclear Iran. But I want to ask you one more question before we get going.
To that point, that's a fine opinion to have, Katie. It's a minority opinion. You are in the minority holding that opinion. Is an unpopular war that most Americans want out of. That's just according to objective polling. You can have your own opinions. But unfortunately, the facts don't care about your opinion, Katie. Let's stick to the facts.
The facts are exactly what I just talked about. But before you go, I just want to ask you this question. You talked a whole lot about how Chuck Schumer is a weak leader. There's been a lot of talk about how the Democratic Party is now shifting to the left. You're having this No Kings protest tomorrow. You want it to be the biggest protest in the history of the country. Is there anybody who's not welcome at these protests?
Oh, I think it's really, really important that this is welcome to anybody in the country who opposes monarchical rule and authoritarianism. And this is absolutely not a rally for Kamala Harris voters or for Democrats. This is a rally for Republicans and independents and Democrats and people who don't care about the political system, don't think it works for them. We actually don't have to agree on what the future policy agenda in 2029 ought to be to say in one clear voice in the 250th anniversary of the founding of this country, a country founded on rejecting authoritarian
rule. I'm glad that we agree that the founding of this country was a good thing. Because it used to be that the left thought we were a colonial power and that we hate America. But I'm just curious, does including everybody mean that you're welcoming groups like Communist USA, who has been at these rallies? You had the Democratic Socialists of America, who talked about violence against groups that they say it's necessary at some point. What does the training look like in terms of allowing these people into these rallies, if everybody's welcome?
Allowing people to exercise their First Amendment rights? Are you saying in order to exercise your First Amendment rights, you have to commit to a certain ideology?
I'm just curious who you're welcoming in, given that there are training materials from these groups that advocate for violence.
Oh, I want to be very clear. This is foundationally nonviolent. And that's not just me saying this. This isn't our first rodeo, Katie. This is the third No Kings protest. We had 5 million people out last June. We had 7 million people out last October. Yeah. There are 3,300 events all over the country. So far, there have been no incidents of violence. I will tell you, I'm glad that you're worried about political violence because on January 6th, there was a lot of political violence supported by the folks on your side. And I think I'm glad that you're bringing it up, though,
because we do need to call out political violence. And held in prison. So Ezra Levin, thank you very much for joining us and making your case. Because the justice system was tyrannical and overcharged most of the people for simple trespassing. Ezra Levin, great to see you. Good luck tomorrow. Hope the weather's...
Guys, did you see that? Did you see that? She knew she effed up. She knew that she did. She knew she effed up because everybody knows that Donald Trump pardoned them. She knew it. This is honestly, I love watching Katie Pavlich's debates. She's out of her depth. Every single time she's out of her depth, every time. The ending of that debate was phenomenal. I'm not sure who this guy is. I'm not going to be 100% transparent. I've never seen him before, but he was on the ball. I love it. So many points that it is that I just want to touch on really, really quickly. First and foremost, the fact that you've got somebody on the right who is angry at the fact that people are literally exercising their First Amendment right just because they don't believe in what they're debating, what they're protesting about. Just really highlights that the right don't care about free speech. It's kind of the same thing with JD Vance when he came to Europe and tried to lecture us on free speech. But we've been seeing what Donald Trump's been doing with news programs, what Donald Trump has been doing with late night TV hosts, what Donald Trump has been doing with any individual that he believes has come after him. Honestly, embarrassing stuff. But he was on the ball in everything that it is that he said. Everything. And genuinely, I can't believe the way that he bodied her, especially at the end. Especially at the end. This is the problem with Republicans. They want to pick and choose when they're interested in something. And I said this in a video I done earlier on today. This is what they do. They care about violence when it relates to them. But when the moment somebody highlights January 6th, they're flustered. They don't know. She abruptly tries to end the interview and then had to come back because he debunked what she was saying. That is Katie Pavlich. That is NewsNation. That is the right. This is what they do. You know, these people cannot debate in good faith. So Katie Pavlich does what she always likes to do and tries to run off really, really quickly. But it's no surprise. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this back and forth between Katie Pavlich and the No Kings organizer. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. What a clip.